Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder.
And I'm Julio Zamora.
If your Mophead Hydrangea flowers are fading from blue or pink to like a bleached white, it's time to do some maintenance. Hear what to do and why in our first segment.
Crape Myrtles are starting to blossom, and our fantastic flowering shrub or small tree. Hear all about them in our second segment.
Jamie reached out to the Bloomers in the Garden hotline and asked about their ailing mint plant kept on the kitchen windowsill. We'll tell you all about it in our third segment.
During our fourth segment, we're going to be talking about planning for a fall vegetable harvest.
That's it. Mike reached out to us through the Bloomers in the Garden YouTube page. His eggplants have gotten attacked. I know just what's bugging them. Hear how to protect those vegetables in our final segment.
So stay tuned, and we'll be right back in the garden right after these messages.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden.
Do you think you have insects eating away your nice, beautiful lawn? Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below is the product for you. Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below not only controls chinch bugs, which is a surface-feeding insect, but also controls grubs, which is a subsurface feeding insect. It does it all, guaranteed. When most homeowners see their lawn turning brown in the summer, they think grubs. Damage from the larva, Japanese beetle. But in many cases, it could be chinch bugs. Chinch bugs are hard to see because they are so small and you'd need to get down on your hands and knees to see them. If you misdiagnose your problem, Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below has you covered. The product will control both chinch bugs and grubs. This summer, control your pest problems with Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below. It also may be used in flower beds, on landscape ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below will also control crane fly larvae, ants, mole crickets, sod webworms, bill bugs, and many more. Your property will be pest-free with Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below.
We got another
So next time you're visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below, and expect to have the best-looking lawn and landscape in the neighborhood. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider, or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Hey! How's it going, Julio?
It's going real good.
Well, I'll tell you what, the hydrangeas are starting to fade.
They are.
Now, we're talking about macrophylla.
I'm
so smart. All right. Let's see, snowball bush hydrangea, the ones that are blue or the ones that are pink. And what happens is that around this time, they've sent out their first bloom cycle. And, we always have to do this. All right, Julio, can you explain old wood versus new wood?
Right. Old wood is last year's growth. New wood is this year's growth.
Right. And a lot of the flowers that you're seeing right now are on last year's growth. And if you look at our YouTube page, you can see that in the studio, I have in my hands basically the stages of what happens with blue hydrangeas, and that's because that's what I have. They will start out like this. They will expand to be that larger blue, paler blue flower. then they will turn to this. You can see some of the edges are a little bit burned, but basically they turn white. And like when they get to that pale stage,
Right.
it's time to cut them back.
Yeah.
Cut them back, make room for new flowers because it will recycle new blooms as long as you have a reblooming type. Endless summer. And any new hydrangea variety is going to be a repeat bloomer. And that you want to get those faded blooms off the plant to make room for the new blooms like that. And that, again, it's kind of becomes unsightly because the edges of the flowers burn a little bit, as you can see with the ones that I'm holding in my hand if you're looking on YouTube. And what that's from is a lot of times it's from either watering during the day or it's just we had that major, right? It was heat wave back to back, and that can hurt that. One thing about watering hydrangeas, don't do it in full sun. And if you're going to do it, water the soil, not the top, because every time you water a hydrangea or even Japanese maples, same recommendation for them, when a water droplet hits the leaf or hits the flower, it becomes this little magnifying glass that can burn or it can damage, as you can see, the flower. So try to make sure, and if it's raining, it's cloudy, right?
Yeah.
Right? In full sun, we rarely get sun showers, and they certainly don't last very long. But if you're watering yourself or you're doing it, make sure you do it preferably early in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the best time.
Yeah.
But you're going to clip these off, and you're going to go down to the bud just below the flower. So if you go, it's going to be about 3 inches down. You don't want to just deadhead it. And like so, for instance, I'm going to show it on our YouTube channel, that you don't want to just like snap it right here, and snap it there. You don't want to do that. You want to go just a little bit below that, and that there will be a bud like this one right here. And you want to do it just below that first bud. And I didn't do a very good job. I didn't use pruners. Shame on me.
Use your fingers.
I did. Well, they call it pinching.
Pinching. That's right.
But again, you want to make sure that you use a scissor type pruning shear so that you get a clean cut, not like this torn up cut, because insects seem to like that. So again, you're going to cut it. Aaron, you able to get this on YouTube? So again, it's this bud right here. You want to go just below that bud. So, and that will help it to produce new flowers. And that's what we want. That's what we want. It's a perfect time also if you have a hydrangea, even if you have one of the old style that bloom on just their old wood, it's done. It's not going to flower anymore. But a lot of times they get big. Like one of my favorite hydrangea variety is Nico Blue, and it's a fantastic flower, great show in the spring and early summer, but then sometimes it gets a little big and out of control. So this is a time you get to cut it down and basically tame it back to a decent size. So don't wait. You don't want to do it in the fall. You don't want to do it much later than this. And that's it. And then it'll flower again next year because it will set its buds between now and fall for the following year. Most of the time we tell people kind of leave them on. But with the reblooming type, if you leave them on, it gets in the way of the other flowers. And it also, these are a little bit unsightly, wouldn't you say?
Yep. Doesn't look beautiful at all.
No, it doesn't look beautiful at all. All right.
Yeah.
So again, it's also time, feed them with a Spoma Hollytone, and you want to do a acidic-based water-soluble fertilizer. So your water-soluble, that's the one that you mix in like in a watering can, or you can put into there's some sprayers that will automatically mix it for you. But again, if you just have a few hydrangeas, you just want to do that. That will keep that pH up or down, so that pH will be lower, so you'll have blue flowers. You're going to use something different that's where your pH would be adjusted higher for pink flowers. That's another show. You can certainly go back and hear that show. But also, it's a time where you can use aluminum sulfate. If you love the blue flowers and you love that blue, aluminum sulfate is a granular product that looks like fertilizer, and basically it's an element that's in many fertilizers. So you still can do the holly tone and the aluminum sulfate, and that will adjust the pH lower so you get those stunning blue flowers. So it's a little bit of maintenance. You're going to basically deadhead the flowers below that first bud, and then you're going to feed them. And again, if you need to do any pruning to knock them down to size. Now, these are the macrophylla type. You know, some you'll tell by the leaves. It's a big, wide leaf. It's almost like it's made out of rubber. It isn't. We're not talking about the paniculata types. Like, those are starting to bloom now. All those white, beautiful ones that fade to pink or red, those are not what we're talking about. We're talking about the blue or the pink varieties of hydrangeas. So basically, when people think of hydrangea, that's the one, and that's what we're talking about. Basically deadheading those flowers that they're basically looking stale. Anything to add, Julio?
Sometimes customers come in and go, how come my hydrangea doesn't bloom? And we asked them, how low did you prune them?
Well, or when. Husbands and landscapers take the blame most of the time because they trim stuff in the fall. This is the only time you should be trimming them. Mm-hmm. If you're deadheading the flowers on a reblooming type, that's fine. But on again, going back to old wood and new wood, if it flowers on old wood, that should only be pruned now and no more. Okay? The reblooming hydrangeas blooms on the new wood, so it's new growth, and that's where you can cut it back below that bud, and then it will form new flowers. So again, don't prune them past this point if they only flower once. This is your one chance to take care of those. But if you have the newer varieties where it continually sends up blossoms, make some space by getting rid of those faded and browning flowers. It'll be great for your plant. And make sure you feed them. Feed them. Yep. Because they are pigs. They are.
Yeah, they are.
And then again, blue is acidic, alkaline is pink. And it's more like the blues get like a purpley. Like this one's pretty purpley. But again, for that real good blue, aluminum sulfate makes a big deal. Anything to add, Julio Zamora?
Make sure you water deeply.
Yeah, that's it. Water.
Yeah.
We've been having some rains lately, which has been real good.
Yeah, it has
it's
been.
real good. But that stretch where we had that hot weather,
Drought.
it was dry.
Yeah,
So
it was.
index finger probe.
That's right.
Feel the soil. If it's moist, leave it go. If not, saturate the water with water really well, and then keep checking with that index finger probe. And then once it goes dry, the first 2 inches or so of soil, then you water it again, and you water more at one time and less often. All right. That's it. If you've got questions about hydrangeas or any of your landscape plants, your house plants, you know what to do. Call the hotline at 609-685-1880. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Wanting to up your game in the vegetable garden? With 90 years of organic gardening experience, the Espoma Company has you covered. Espoma Organic Garden Tone is not your average garden variety fertilizer. Garden Tone is especially blended for organic vegetable gardens. Its all-natural formula contains Biotone, a blend of organic ingredients that supplies essential nutrients for strong, healthy plants and mouth-watering vegetables. Its slow-release formula provides continuous feeding. The Biotone contained in Garden Tone is a combination of organic ingredients and beneficial microbes to help roots grow deeper and faster for bigger, more bountiful harvests. Garden Tone is simple to use and safe for people, pets, and the planet. No harmful chemicals or synthetic fertilizers are ever added. You can find Garden Tone at fine garden centers. Visit espoma.com to find a retailer near you. Garden Tone from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
Last year, millions of Americans asked the internet about protecting their lawns and gardens. There's one simple answer: Bio Advanced. Because gardeners have trusted the blue bottle for decades. Invasive insects? Blue bottle. Lawn fungus? Blue bottle. Japanese beetles? Blue bottle. A Bio Advanced answer for every question and guaranteed solutions for every problem. Bio Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. Bio Advanced all-in-one rose and flower care controls insects and diseases, plus feeds.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Crape Myrtles are in bloom, folks. Yes, they are. They're beautiful and they're gorgeous.
Stunning.
plants. Yeah. Do you remember the first one you ever saw?
It was probably Natchez.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, that was a white.
White.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you are going out shopping, old school, the hardiest here I go. I'm selling hydrangeas. The hardiest Crape Myrtles were the ones that had the Indian-sounding names, like Tuscarora. Tuscarora is the hardy. Natchez is hardy. And that there's been so many new introductions. People are asking for dynamite.
Yeah.
But still, like Tonto is a variety. And I don't know. It's you can't go wrong if you buy and pretty much anywhere within our listening area, you're looking for something that is a zone 7 or lower. There are dwarf varieties that only get to be about 4 foot tall, believe it or not. But here's a question, Julio. Is a crepe myrtle a tree or a shrub?
It can be both.
Both?
Yep. We have.
Explain yourself, please.
You just said we have one that is only 4 foot tall.
Right.
And then we have the tree form, which is 15 to 20 foot tall, or even 30 sometimes.
Yeah, I've got one that's pretty big.
Yeah, I saw it.
All right. Question 2, a follow-up.
Follow up.
It is the political season. So, following that up, all right, what other plant is similar to that form of a crepe myrtle? Is it a tree? Is it a shrub?
Good question.
Sam, do you have the
the
Jeopardy
yeah,
clock?
hang on, I can find it.
Yeah, all right.
What?
Yeah, come on, Julio.
Another
So another plant
that
that's
is
like
similar
a
to the-
is it a tree or is it a shrub?
Oh, you know what lilac is?
There, you got it.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Lilacs are just like that. It's like, when they're small, they're more like a shrub.
Yeah.
A shrub, and that they're a shrubby tree, but then they can get bigger. Yeah. Crepe myrtles are the same thing. You got to check the variety, like Julio said, and that it can grow big or it could stay small. I'll tell you, the hardiness zone is key. It used to be that you couldn't grow crepe myrtles basically we're in New Jersey, so we're going to use our state capital. You couldn't really grow crepe myrtles north of Trenton. But now, in our whole listening range, which encompasses New York City and Long Island and things like that, where they are growing in that climate. Now, I want to buy a crepe myrtle. And here's another wood question. If you were paying attention, in the previous segment, we talked about plants and hydrangeas that grow on their new, say it, Julio,
Wood.
and crepe myrtles grow on their new wood. So here's a trick to have the most floriferous.
Wow.
I can't say that again. I'm going to have to take a nap. So what that means is that the old growth from last year, it doesn't bloom on. It has to send out new growth, and that new growth is where the bud sets. So here's a trick. You want to make sure that you're pruning your crepe myrtles in basically late winter, early spring. So it's another, winter pruning task. It just like, well, here we're going to get people confused, but just like the hydrangea, the opposite hydrangea to the macrophylla, So again, we'll leave that for another show. But crepe myrtles, you want to prune. That's winter pruning, folks. There's a lot of things that get winter pruned. Again,
One of them.
You're gonna, unlike some of the larger trees, you're gonna remove suckers, twiggy growth, crossing branches. Here's why so we're on YouTube, and please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. It makes Aaron so happy. When branches cross, okay, and the wind blows, they act like a saw.
Rubbing.
And they rub, and that ends up where it ends up scarring the bark, and that allows insects to get in there and everything else, and it hurts the plant, and it lacks vigor on the branch that it's damaged most. So you want to, on any pruning, this is roses, any pruning you do, you want to eliminate those crossed branches so that damage doesn't occur. So certainly you want to do that with your crepe myrtles. Let's see, side branches to a height of 4 to 5 foot. I've seen butcher jobs where they take them, they just clip, and then all of a sudden it looks like a bunch of twigs, not even twigs, they're like stumps that are all over the thing. You want to open it up and think of it like you want to reduce it by a third. Mm-hmm. So that way, if you've got a 20-foot plant, you can reduce it by a third. If you've got a 3-foot plant, you can reduce it by a third, which is a foot. So again, you that will open it up, and that will create more opportunities for blossoms about this time. But you've got to do it in like late winter. So we're talking about February or early March. If you've got branches that are more than 2 inches thick, you want to cut those branches all the way back to where they meet the trunk, or it's at the crotch point, is what that is called technically. And that you don't want to just, leave like a stub. Yeah. You want to take it right back to the trunk. All right, Julio. Here's a question. Aphids enjoy crepe myrtles. Okay. But how do you know? How do you know if there's apple?
You see the leaf curls.
Leaf curls. There you go.
Sorry, he answered
Go
it.
Sam. All right. He answered it pretty quick. What else do you see?
Well, you see the honeydew.
Honeydew.
Yeah.
I'll say it. It's poop.
Yeah, it is.
I usually make Julio say it because I enjoy him feeling uncomfortable. But yeah, so what happens is aphids, they have so many generations and they mass on plants that it's like a black soot. And a lot of people think, I've got sooty disease, I've got smut. Do you believe smut is hey, smut. I've got smut.
You got smut?
And that smut is like a disease that actually it occurs in vegetables and all types of things. But on this plant, you have the honeydew, which is coated, it's coating it in black, and it's not a disease. It's basically crap from the aphids, and it's so much. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, the ants are causing it. Now the ants are growing up the tree to eat the honeydew. So it's not the ants are the problem, it's the aphids. Aphids are pretty easy to get rid of. They they're not going to kill it, but they're going to make it look bad. If you spray the foliage and you want to try to get top and bottom foliage with a simple, we have spinosad here in the studio, and if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. And that where you'll see that you can use that. You can use 8. You can use pretty basic insecticides, organic, inorganic. You don't have to go crazy with it. It's not like a borer or something that you need to use something that is a systemic. But if you use a contact to control the aphids, it would, that's all you need. But what did I say when we first started, right? Aphids, Julio, come in mass.
Yeah, they come.
So you have, first of all, you have the adults. The adults are basically crapping and making everything a mess. Then they lay eggs. The eggs are there. Then the eggs hatch and there's juveniles. So you've got to get 3 generations, not just one. It's not a one and done. You're going to do 3 applications about 7 to 10 days apart. Then you will clean it up. Then it will be done. And that as the rain comes, it'll wash off the soot off of the leaves. And if you have patio furniture underneath or anything like that, you're going to have to power wash that off. But again, it will control. But 3 applications, 7 to 10 days apart. Spinosad, to me, is organic, safe, and we're going to talk more about that in an upcoming segment. So stay tuned. What about diseases, Julio?
Yeah, powdery mildew is one of them.
Powdery mildew. And it's funny, we mentioned about lilacs.
Yeah,
lilacs and they both can get powdery mildew. Usually it's on the older sections of crepe myrtles, but the disease, it can get severe to where it'll defoliate half of its leaves. And basically, when a plant gets powdery mildew, it's I'm not getting any sunlight. I can't produce food through photosynthesis if I don't have light. So let's get rid of those, leaves, and it all of a sudden starts dropping leaves, and that's the problem with powdery mildew, and that you want to spray it with the first signs of that, and a good spray to use is the Fertilome. It's F-stop, okay, and it is a great disease control for all types of landscape plants, even indoor plants for that matter. It works really well, but again, you want to try to catch it early, and you can tell because it looks like somebody coated the leaves with a little bit of baby powder, and it doesn't wipe off real easily, and that you need to start spraying it the first sign of it, and that way you'll control it quickly. If you wait, it's just going to get worse and worse. And it has to do with humidity. It has to do with a lot of times when we get in these wet and dry periods, that both the wet period, will cause it, but the dry will as well. Aaron, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Can you get a close-up on our eating? Can you see that? No.
Resolution's
We brought in parsley, and those again, you watch on YouTube. We have parsley in, and we have a swallowtail caterpillar.
We've got it on screen now.
So it's on screen now. It's eating, and as I'm doing the segment, I'm watching it, and it's starting to eat. Before it was just like, you brought me from Washington Township into Philadelphia. I'm not sure I want to be here. I think it's happy to be here because it's eating. Listen to the segment coming up on herbs. We have a nice surprise with a swallowtail butterfly caterpillar. In any case, that is coming up. Anything to add about crepe myrtles?
No, if you have the tree,
all right.
The tree
Thanks, Julio. Glad you came.
If you have a tree form, you need to get up high on it. So you be careful as you're doing the.
Well,
the 15,
use a pole saw.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, use a pole saw. Pole saws are easy.
Yeah.
They're not too expensive, and that you'll use it for other plants.
Okay,
so
that's
and
a great idea.
And then that way you're and again, this is something that you're doing not now, not in the fall. You're doing it in the winter, just before spring.
Right.
and that you're doing a lot of other plants. Like we've talked about it before. Paniculata hydrangeas is the one that escaped.
And you're doing it on a regular basis. You're not skipping
Every year. Every year. And you're controlling height. You're controlling the basic. You're getting airflow, which in essence will control powdery mildew. So again, it has to do a lot about pruning. And think about this. Every time when you go out there and it's February and you're cold and you're doing this, you'll be rewarded in July with an abundance of flowers on your crepe myrtle.
Exactly.
Got questions? You know what to do. Call the hotline, 609-685-1880. We'll be right back in the garden right after these messages. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. We are proud to announce that Bloomers in the Garden has partnered with Renewal by Andersen of Greater Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey, and Southern Maryland. Renewal by Andersen is the top window and door company in the United States, specializing in replacement windows and doors. You might be thinking right now, what the heck do windows have to do with gardening? Well, Renewal by Andersen makes this beautiful garden bay window that's energy efficient and made from recycled materials. It's perfect for growing the finest indoor plants possible. When you are looking out your windows filled with plants in your beautiful garden, you don't want to see old windows that are cloudy, warped, or even rotting. That's why people in the horticulture community love Renewal by Andersen. Not only do we want our gardens to be beautiful, but their homes as well. Renewal by Andersen participates in horticultural events such as flower shows, earth days, and eco fairs. To get more information and set up a free home consultation, please visit www.philadelphiawindow.com. And be sure to tell them Bloomers in the Garden sent you. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len. That's Aaron. And then we got Sam, and we have to mention Julio. Julio, how are you feeling?
Feeling good.
That's what I like to hear. So Jamie contacted us via the Facebook page about growing mint that he has on his windowsill.
Thank you.
It wasn't looking so good. Here, this is what he sent us. My mint is in bad shape. Oh, I hate when things start out that way. It lives in a windowsill in my kitchen. Can you help diagnose what the problem may be? Yes, you need a Renewal by Andersen window that you can get a little more room. Because I saw it. And here's what's going on. The picture that he sent us, that the leaves are real chlorotic on the bottom, and that you can see only green basically on the veins, the leaf veins, and that it just seems to be touched all on the plant. And a lot of times, when we diagnose plant problems, here's something to keep in mind. Like if you're looking at it, you have a plant, there's something wrong. If you have a plant that's whole color is changing, like the entire plant is changing, you either have an environmental issue that you didn't water it, or you watered it too much. Or it's a disease issue to where it's over the whole plant. Insects generally don't turn the entire plant brown. And one thing that I noticed is the way that this plant, the bottom leaves are in worse shape than the top leaves. And there are some insects that will do that. And that basically, I think he's got mites on the plant. I also think that it's in too small a pot, that it needs to be transplanted.
It's overgrown.
He also, like, if you want to grow herbs inside, they don't grow in the shade real well. They like to be in sun. So I don't think sun is his issue, though. And we're looking at the picture that he sent us right now. Just make sure that if you're growing indoors, they're getting enough light. That's number one. And that the leaves, because we're on radio and that we're on podcasting, so the leaves are like a mottled green. And again, I think there's insect activity, and from what it looks like, is that the leaves are being sucked. So when you diagnose plants that have an insect on them, they feed in two ways. One, they actually physically eat the leaves like our caterpillar is doing, that you're going to see in just a moment, or it's sucking the life out of the plant by they're sticking, like, think of it this way, they stick a needle in there and then they just suck all the juices out, and that turns it yellow. Like chinch bugs in your lawn do that, as opposed to Japanese beetle or larvae or grubs where they eat the roots. So here's what we've got. An organic insecticide sprayed named Spinosad. Spinosad, Bon and I branded it a couple of years back, which was great. They called it Captain Jack's, but now, unfortunately, Bonite has been sold, and now everything has the Captain Jack's label on it, even weed control. So look for Spinosad, and that's Spinosad. 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 All right? And our brand that we have and we like very much is a Fertilome brand, because it's both Spinosad and it's a Spinosad soap, which makes it just that much more active. It's got a kind of funny story. This is not like one of those old insecticide that's been around since the 40s. This was discovered in 1982 in a Caribbean rum still. See, drinking is not good for you. It was found that the bacteria that was in that still, it produced a substance, actually a neurotoxin, and it controls many, many insects. And when they're exposed, they become like a lot of when you drink rum. I guess it's the same kind of thing. They become excited to the point of exhaustion. They stop eating, and immediately they stop eating and then die within a couple of days. The thing that I really like is that when you spray this, you can harvest in a week. There are some plants, now this is on mint, there are some plants where you can harvest the next day. It's one of those perfect organic insecticides that has a decent residual, but I suggest make sure that it replants. Now, in the studio, we have, if you're looking at us on YouTube, we have a parsley, flat leaf parsley, Italian parsley, and when we were looking for mint plant at the store to bring in as an example, what we found was a swallowtail caterpillar for a swallowtail butterfly on our parsley plant, and that there is a series of different plants that we sell that are called caterpillar candy, and that's by Centerton Nursery, and that where they are an exclusive, where the swallowtails love parsley. And that you can see this one looking pretty fat, isn't he, Aaron? Aaron's got a close-up on him. And is he still eating?
No, not
Because
anymore. He's just chilling
he
now.
stopped?
Yeah,
He
he was about
he
a
doesn't
minute
like
ago.
being on camera.
Right.
But, if you were listening on the last segment, I was talking about the things eaten away, and I can't help but see them. But anyway, think about when you have certain things like herbs, like dill, for instance, is another host, and that where the caterpillars and the insects are there. Now, here's the sad part. If you sprayed it with spinosad, you would be killing the caterpillars. Oh, he's moving the whole leaf. He really is.
Wow.
Now he's eating
He wants out of here. We'll leave it with Sam. Anyway, keep that in mind. Like if with the mint plant, it looks like it has mites. Where that's something where it's something that's a little bit different, where it's all over it, and it's basically a cleanup spray, and it's going to last like a week. But if you love butterflies, you have to be aware that they are now caterpillars eating your plants, and you just have to be aware that, like, maybe I can spot spray, maybe I can live with it for a while, like having it look ugly. I was wondering that when I was looking at Jamie's plant, I was wondering, do I want a mojito out of the mottled leaves? Tastes the same. Then again, am I eating mites? I think what I would do is I would make sure there were no caterpillars on it, so that I'm not hurting any good bugs, and that what we do is spray that, isolate it for a while, and then go back and start growing it. I would cut it back a little bit too. What about you, Willie? You think you should cut it back after he sprays it?
Yeah, I think you should.
Cut it back. Just tip it. The tip it is
that's
like where you just take a pinch of, like after the first or second group of leaves, and it will help it spread out and be fuller. So,
like I said, repot it.
and he needs to feed it,
Oh yeah.
because that's part of the problem with his plant is that it definitely needs food. If he uses the Espoma Organic Indoor Liquid Plant Food every 2 weeks, and that'll make that color improve as well. But repotting it is because I know that he has that herb looks like it's from us, and that I can tell by the pot, and it has a very bark type soil. So he needs to get it transplanted in a bigger pot so that it can grow a bit. But again, take a look when you're spraying this time of the year. Be sure that you're not spraying the beneficial insects and such. You can certainly take a look on. You can Google it. You can get a lot of information about beneficial insects, so you know. But not all insects are beneficial insects. Honestly, a farmer would look at this thing eating his crop, and he would say, that caterpillar's toast. I don't care if it's a swallowtail, But again, we can be a little bit more selective.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anything to add, Julio?
No, everything has been touched.
Yep.
Yep.
Cut it back.
Cut it back.
Feed it.
Right.
Check for, then transplant it in a bigger pot.
Bigger pot, yeah.
Check for any beneficial insects or pollinators. Spray it with spinosad. Wait a week. Start making your mojitos. There you go. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Do you remember seeing that light green grass growing high in your yard late last June? Well, that was nutsedge grass. It always had a lighter green color, and it always grew faster than the rest of the lawn, and you'd find it in other places like along the sidewalk. It is the worst weed in the world. It's hard to get rid of, and what you need to use is Fertilome's Weed Out Nutsedge Control. It will control both yellow and purple nutsedge, plus over 50 broadleaf weeds such as dandelions, clover, chickweed, and ground ivy. Fertilome's Weed Out Nutsedge Control gets absorbed by the roots and the leaves, and within days the sedges are gone. You may even reseed after 4 weeks of spraying the nutsedge. So when you start seeing those light green glass sprays growing in your yard, make sure you purchase Fertilome's Weed Out Nutsedge Control to kill any nutsedge threatening to invade your nice green lawn. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider, or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Some of your vegetables are really done by now. So it's time to plan for a fall vegetable harvest.
That's right. That's right.
This is
So, tomatoes, and here we go. We talk about this every spring. Determinate variety tomatoes, which are usually a bush type, or they don't get to be 10 feet tall or sprawl along the ground, those are indeterminate, so they have no end, so they'll continue to produce. But if you have determinate tomatoes, they may be done. They may be done. Same thing with maybe some peppers or some other plants, certainly with any of your broccoli, cauliflower, any of your lettuces, if you've cut them, except for you can get away with doing like, for instance, there's varieties that are leaf lettuces that you can harvest all the way through. But still, even in the heat, lettuces don't look great. So it's time to start thinking. It's like, all right, what am I going to replace it with? You have time to start a second garden, a second season. Now, soon we're going to be getting plants in that will be just for that. We will have cole crops like cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and maybe kohlrabi, Julio.
Yeah.
We'll have other types of things. Now, certain vegetables will do fine. Most of the vegetables we're going to mention will do fine even with the first frost. Many vegetables grow even colder, like carrots, for instance. Carrots you would put in by seed. You don't buy them in plants, so you use seed. They can take the temperatures all the way down to 20 degrees. So, hey, it's time. And here's what to do. It's like, all right, I've got to get in my head. All right, so how many weeks does it take before the first frost? So you go work backwards. And again, that first frost, we're talking about, I think it's, let's check my notes here, anytime between October 15th and November 15th. So if you go, just figure Halloween. You know, if you figure Halloween the 31st or the 1st of November as the frost date, that we have a frost, so then you work backwards from there. So broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Ooh, Brussels sprouts. They say that they're better in the fall.
They are.
You know,
They are.
and that
Probably.
cabbage, cauliflower, carrot, celery. 10 to 12 weeks before the first frost. So it's going to take 10 to 12 weeks for them to mature to get to harvest. Here's some others. 8 to 10 weeks on these. 8 to 10 weeks. Arugula, Chinese cabbage, collards, kale, lettuce, mustard greens, spinach, Swiss chard, turnips. So that takes 8 to 10 weeks. Now, quicker turnaround, 6 to 8 weeks, is beets, radishes, beans. Come on, Julio, read it.
Beans, the musical fruit. Yeah, right. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. So we have beans at every meal.
Come on, Leo. You can't laugh during this. Is serious. Beans are good for you.
I know.
And the thing is that beans have a quick turnaround.
Yeah, they do.
If bush beans, boom. You know, and they're good. Plant them by seed. Don't ask for plants. Plants are, I'm in the business, but it's a ripoff. A bean will start growing in a week. Mm-hmm. So if you just do it by seed and put them in a row, you'll have beans in no time. You'll have beans in no time. So again, you're talking about 6 weeks before the time that they're ready to harvest. So let's see. Aaron, you do the math for me. So if we are the 1st of November is how many weeks from the 27th of July? So you got, oh look, he's got to use, everybody has to use your phone. So
First of November?
August is 4, right? So you got August is 4 weeks. You've got September is 4 weeks. That's 8. You got October, another 4. So you've got easily 12 weeks. 12 to 14 weeks. So you have time to plan that garden because, again, the longest thing that we have in the garden, okay, the longest thing is going to be, let's see, where are we? Is going to be 12 weeks, and that's going to be broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, carrot, celery. Anything that you grow from seed is going to be in that time frame. If you're buying plants, they'll be advanced by at least 2 weeks. So think about this, folks. You've got time when you're buying plants. So it's the things that you get with seed. So again, plan your garden. Start thinking of what you're going to do. Clear out those spaces. You want to try to get the plants that have stopped producing. Don't just leave them there and grow and hope that they're going to all of a sudden, spring some fruit. Pull them out, improve the soil. You want to get any disease spores or any insects that may be not overwintering, but on them so that they don't go on your new crop. And you want to rotate your crop too. If you had broccoli in the one spot, don't put broccoli in the same spot. You want to switch it up. Like if you had tomatoes there, then put the broccoli. You want to do different planting. If you've got questions about fall vegetable gardening, please call the hotline. We'll be right back right after this. Sam, the clock's bigger.
Spring is here, and people have a lot of questions about weed and feed. There's one simple answer. Bio Advanced 5-in-1 Weed and Feed. Just one application kills lawn weeds and prevents new weeds and crabgrass up to 6 months.
Yeah.
And if crabgrass is already growing, it kills that too. Plus, 5-in-1 feeds and greens your lawn. Bio Advanced 5-in-1 Weed and Feed. Get more from the blue bag.
And the podcast.
Here's the dirt on potting mixes.
Oh, no.
They're not all created equal. Yeah. Espoma Organic Potting Mix gives
Leave the
roots the
phone
ideal
hotline.
balance of air and
then
moisture. It contains a
cut the
special
podcast
blend of
ready.
beneficial mycorrhiza to help grow stronger roots, bigger plants, and more bountiful blooms. Try Espoma Organic Potting Mix indoors and out for all your potted flowers, vegetables, and you'll see why it's the best. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you. Organic potting mix from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, Mike left us a comment on the latest Bloom in the Garden YouTube video. Here's what he said. I have eggplants that are being attacked by insects eating their leaves. What can I do? Is it safe to use while they're flowering so that we don't poison the eggplants? I know he's got it. Colorado potato beetle. Absolutely. That they will come in and they will make skeleton leaves out of eggplant. They love eggplant. Look, Mike, look on the back of the leaf. See if you have orange egg masses. Okay, that will be there. And that there'll be these like gummy like little tiny gummy beetles. They're kind of pinkish mauve, and they're real soft bodies. And then there may be the adults, which have a striped black and basically a black and tan striped beetle. Hate them. I hate them. A few weeks back, we did a segment on them, but we're going to keep it easy. Organic spinosad does a great job on potato beetles. And that is listed on there, that where Bonide had labeled it a few years back as it's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. But again, I'm liking more and more the VPG product, Fertilome, spinosad. It says the active ingredient right on it, and that you can do it that way. That will control those insects. It will not affect the flowers, and that again, your time to harvest is easy. We'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden.
We're going to
Do you
make
have
it,
a
Julio.
landscape,
We're going to
garden,
make
or
it.
plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
I tell you what. Whew.
Informative show today.
It is very
informative
very
show.
much, yeah.
Hey, cut back those hydrangeas. Get those faded flowers off so that it can bloom fresh flowers on there.
Right.
You want to make sure that on your house plants and if you're growing herbs inside, you're going to look for insects. Look, herbs inside is great. You know, it sounds like so Martha Stewartish. But if you're not getting them enough sunlight, they're just not going to do well. Right. And then just check for insects and things like that. Crepe myrtles.
Oh, my goodness.
Get to your local garden center today.
Yes.
Get to your local garden center today and go in and get your crepe myrtles. They will not be around long. They look so nice this year that they will be gone.
In an instant.
They will. Yeah. And that right now, it's the best varieties, the best selection. If you wait too long,
you're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it. Yep. All right. We're going to see you at the same time next week right here in the garden.
We'll see you in the garden.